materias that I felt like were essential to remake and moving around and doing combat and stuff. They made them part of the character's kit. Deadly
Yeah.
dodge and parry materia, which wasn't really a parry, it was a slide. But everybody has it automatically in Rebirth and you don't have to equip it.
Yep.
They need to do that and consider doing that with like ATB assist or auto ability, auto unique ability, you know, and skill master materia. Like those
Hello,
things
hello, hello, hello.
are great and they're important, but they also limit our creativity and our
Yeah.
flexibility for how far we can take builds because we need those things in order to fund characters more ATB, right? Because ATB is the most valuable resource in Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
FF7 remake specifically.
Yeah, and I think that they also accomplished that a little bit by like taking like fire and ice and making them one materia instead of separate, or giving the abilities you could build out in the folio where you could do elemental attacks as skills, and then you don't have to have like an ice materia because you can do an ice attack, right? So like they created a little bit of flexibility to allow us to open up a couple materia slots to do other things, but they could do more with that, and it would be great if they did for sure.
Yeah, man. It's just either if that's the case and they want to keep these things as materia, at least give us more slots.
Yeah.
Give us more slots
What's
than
up?
the
What's up?
original
What's
game
up?
gave us. Give us like bonus shit that we can equip. You know what I mean? I think that that's the ultimate way to kind of make me in a selfish way happy, but also allow more flexibility because I feel like there's so many other crazy combinations that could exist, but we just physically can't take advantage of because of the way we have to use certain purple materia in order to function normally, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Couple of things from my chat. Lumbre says a good suggestion is to have incentives on more synergy pips. Is to have an option for a full party synergy when all of the team has synergy pips. I think that falls in line with sort of the triple tech idea, right? The triple synergy ability. I do hope that's coming. I gotta expect that they've heard enough feedback around that and it would just be so dynamic because now that we're gonna have the full party, minus Aerith, but but like think about the sheer number of combinations of all of the different party members, right? How many different triple techs could there be across that many people, right? That would be
What's
really
up? What's
cool
up? What's
and
up?
really dynamic, especially if some of them, especially if we can hot swap party members in and out, which I think also helps with something else that Legendary said. With all the materia we will likely get, we need to have loadouts. That helps to build.
What's up? What's going on, guys?
That helps
can't
to
just
make
like
build craft so much easier. Quality of life
hopping
can
into
really
my
make a
session,
difference
not
there.
even say
I agree.
anything.
I think
The hell's wrong with you guys?
Everybody has said we need material loadouts, no question, right? I'm sure that there are some design challenges with getting that to work in the game. You're going to have various parties with various levels of materia slots on their equipment. How do you implement that in a way that you set the loadout, and then how does it get applied to every person? There's mechanics in the game that have to support all of that, and probably it's just been time them trying to figure out how to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I agree, loadouts would help. But again, if we are operating a three-person party, I'll give you a scenario that we run into.
Excuse
in Rebirth.
me.
We're operating a party of Yuffie, Barrett, and Cloud, and it turns out, oh man, I'm in this battle and Tifa has the materia I need. Well, if you're able to tag Tifa into the battle, it now removes one of the reasons we needed to hot swap everybody's materia all the time, right? What it doesn't fix is when they split the party. When for story purposes, we have different party members, different configurations that we're following. Well, now we really need those loadouts because when we switch back to the party we want to be able to get that back configured the way we had it without fighting with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then loadouts might run into an issue too, where it's like, this character has this materia currently equipped. Do you want to like remove it from them? You know, and it's like, they, from a design standpoint, I think they could just hard
Wow.
swap that. You
I
just click
feel
yes
like I'm
and it
gonna
just moves
pass
it,
out right now.
and that would be great. That'd work out perfectly for us. But that's just something that needs to be in this one, man, because how often we're gonna be swapping party and like like going around from like party to party. We can't spend majority of the siege on Midgar in our menus swapping materia every
Yeah.
5 steps. You know,
No
like
thanks.
that's just ridiculous. If not, give us this. If not, then maybe this is where materia birth comes into play. We
Yeah.
birth materia. We have so many extra ones. We can just leave things on characters. You know,
Yeah.
that's the only other way that they could really lean into that. But either way, they got their work cut out for them when it comes to part three. Somebody also mentioned what about chocobo breeding? Chocobo breeding they mentioned briefly in an interview. I think I covered it in a video a couple of weeks ago. Hamaguchi specifically said,
Oh,
um,
jeez.
He said, I don't know about
he's,
chocobo
he's aware.
breeding, but there will be
Yeah,
new mechanics for chocobos. It was almost like it will be there, but they won't call it that.
yeah. It might be
Yeah.
called some other shit. You know.
Yeah. And speaking of materia birthing and things like that, another person, Melterer in my chat said, I was surprised they didn't take the materia mashups from Crisis Core, right? Like there's sort of like that like creation of materia. I think part of that is like that's
Oh my
Shinra
god. Oh,
technology
jeez.
that we don't
Wow.
have access to because we're the party off on our own. We don't have the resources Shinra does.
University of Phoenix is built for real life. At some schools, to save money, you have to move fast and load up on courses. We keep it simple. Take one course at a time with fixed, affordable tuition. Get started at phoenix.edu.
Wow. Somebody's getting really, really tired right now.
Huge. He's like a guild leader on Final Fantasy 14. He knows a lot about it. I've never played 14, so I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm interested to hear. You like 14, Blitz?
Yeah, I love 14 actually. 14 I've been playing since they did the demo or the beta, sorry, on PlayStation 4. I started off as a paladin, and when I got around to Heaven's Ward, I switched to Dragoon because it was new and fresh. And then I think my main ultimately ended up being Samurai, which I switched to in Stormblood. And the funny thing is though, my relationship with 14 is hilarious. It's like I've played these games, I've done all like a lot of the raids, a lot of the savage content and stuff in the extremes, and I haven't done most of the story. Like 5.3
Oh,
is
jeez.
where which is like the
Wow.
Shadowbringers patch, the really, really good story that everybody loves. That's like been like mind blowing for 14. That's where shit really like takes off for people,
I
and
think
people really
something's
loved
telling me
it.
that I gotta
I'm
go to
literally
sleep
on that, and I haven't
because I'm
progressed.
starting to
I
get
have a character
tired.
that's like max level for like Endwalker at the time. I think the latest one I was playing was Endwalker. I didn't play Dawn Trail at
Getting the
all.
mithril ores
But like my character's all
are
like
new
maxed out and
for
shit, and I
me.
haven't done like any of the story stuff, and it's so funny because a lot of the times I was playing Crystalline Conflict or doing like raids and like my dailies and stuff with people and it's a bad habit, but when I grew up playing like
What?
MMOs, I grew up with like World of Warcraft. A lot of my friends were ahead, and we would always like skip the story stuff. We never paid attention to any of that. So all we cared about was raiding,
Wow.
getting loot, raiding, getting loot. And that's kind of like the same mentality we did in FF14 because A Realm Reborn was kind of a drag, so I didn't really
Bro,
retain a lot
Realm
of the story from
Reborn
that.
was
But
a
I did
beautiful
eventually
game.
go back and played
I
A
actually
Realm
like that
Reborn
a
and
lot.
half of Heaven's Ward, but I do got to play and like actually consume all the stories. And maybe that's something that we do leading up to the new expansion, right? Maybe that's a new content journey on the channel. We jump back into 14 and play through the story and understand it together as a group.
I'd be down. I haven't done any of it, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, we could do it together. Uh, yeah, I used to be on. I was. Well, I know it doesn't matter anymore, but I was on Primal Famfrit, which I know now it's just like Primal Crystal, whatever. Like they've merged all that together. Well, I'm talking to chat. Um, but yeah, I've been playing forever. It's just like I stopped playing consistently after the pandemic because my channel started to do really well with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I was so excited about that. And like, oh my god, there's people actually here. Like, let's play some other games. You know what I mean? And like, just make videos about this and play old school RPGs. And I just kind of like fell off of 14. Played a little bit when Endwalker came back, and yeah, I'm still here.
So what's up? What's going on, guys?
But yeah, it'd be cool to go back through
I know there's
14 with you,
people.
John Q.
Yeah, sure. I'd be down for it.
People on the live.
Another thing that we haven't done that we've talked about in chat, let me know if this is something that you'd be interested in seeing. Okay, we have talked about it, Blitz and I, is despite the fact that it was hugely impactful to me as a as a person, as a gamer.
I need me some tea or coffee.
I haven't actually played through the OG Final Fantasy VII in close to 20 years.
Oh, get out of here.
I remember a great extent of what you experience in there, but I haven't personally gone back and played it in a long time. So if you'd be interested at all in following a journey back through it on a lead up to part 3, like, let me know and we'll tee that up and go back through it.
Man, you're gonna go back through Remake, and you're gonna be like, "Damn, man, those changes they made in Rebirth were needed, bro."
Well, I mean, absolutely. There's going to be a Remake and Rebirth replay that's going to happen before Part 3 for sure. I mean, if I go back and watch like entire seasons of TV shows before the new season drops, I'm definitely going to go back and play Remake and Rebirth again. I've already been through it quite a bit creating content because, as you know, Blitz, like, to go get clips you need and stuff, like, you go through some of the game over and over and over and over and over. So,
chat, it's so hilarious. Like, well, me and John Q will be at the gym, which, by the way, I know we fell
have
off
got to
a
get
little
to
bit.
the gym, dude.
Chat, me and this guy since like November. We went from like November to mid-February, right? Consistently.
Whoa.
To the gym.
Yeah.
And like my birthday happened, and then he got busy with work, and then I got like I went a little bit without him, and then we haven't been back since. It's like I don't think I lost my gains, like I still feel it.
Yeah.
But man, I got winded the other day. We were at Universal and we were walking around, and I got kind of winded. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, I had like 4 or 5 straight weeks of work travel. I was on the road like every week, and then I went on vacation for a week, and I've been playing catch up for weeks, and we've lost a couple people on my team at work, and so like it's been super busy. But like, yes, I am totally down to get back into the gym. We just gotta just do it. I'm traveling this next week, but then we gotta get after it.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I gotta do better. Like I have my workout stuff behind me. Like my chair is actually blocking like my weight. My weights and my pull-up bar is there. And I haven't been using it. I look at them and I'm like, maybe later. Just gotta get at it, you know. But our goal was to get into like, you know, shape and stuff for like Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
But that's coming a month
Soon.
and a month and 10 days from now, chat.
40 days, chat. Ish.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay, chat.
I don't want to point this out, but Tifa is silently judging you for not working out back there. I can see it.
Oh, you guys can't see it, but she's actually got the middle finger up right now.
What? Invalid.
Her
not supported.
her fingers are opposable. My cousin and his wife, they came by a couple weeks ago, and they were messing around with it, and they made her finger like just like flip off like the camera. But it's funny because her hand blends in with her face, so you can't even see from that angle.
That's funny.
But yeah, she's constantly flicking me off because of my lack of gym activities.
I think so. Or that's now canon. One of the two.
Yeah.
Canon on the channel.
What were we saying? Before we went on the gym tangent, my bad. You were going into a thought, I think.
I don't have the attention span to remember.
Maybe chat might know. If anybody in the chat remembers, let me know. But yeah, I mean, speaking of like Summer Games Fest, we do have a trip fund. Finances have been brutal this year. It's a whole different story in itself. My fault because I've been trying to also do a bunch of different things content wise and build an audience for it, but still ain't there, you know? Like it's just one of those things where you kind of just keep firing it off into the algorithm and hopefully it lands. Most recently, my most recent project with Pragmata is doing really, really well. So I appreciate everybody that checked that out. I'm going to be linking it in this chat before we end our stream.
Legend Gary just put in my chat, SGF equals Summer Gains Fest.
Yeah, bro. That's how we
That's
have
so
to get
good.
swole for it. We have to get swole for it.
That's so good. All right, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. That was worth it actually. Yeah, so the Pragmata Platinum video, I think I found the right balance. My issue was, chat, was I underestimated my reach with my audience. I thought that if I put out like a 2-hour Platinum video, people would watch it, especially if it was FF7 related. Not really. That's my bad. And YouTube doesn't really like it if your average view duration is less than 10% of the entire video. So I've been working on these Platinum videos and trying to get them shorter. So this way it'll be easier for you guys to consume and enjoy and watch. And it really would really help me out a lot. I don't know if any of you guys have plans to play Pragmata or if you don't care, but it really would help me out a lot if you guys checked out our latest Pragmata Platinum video. It's a really funny, entertaining video that I put a lot of effort into.
All right, time to listen to something else. Let's see. Oh, that's telling me I gotta go to sleep. Listen to the Iced Coffee podcast. All right, let me peep it. Iced Coffee podcast. Yeah, here we go. Iced Coffee Hours. I wonder what they talk about. 99% will lose. It's fucking crazy. I'm selling. What would you recommend for me to watch? Any specific video from that? Hide the human. Bro, I'm so tired I can't even say your name. That's how tired I am. Dude, you gotta call me up in a bit. I gotta tell you something, my dude. Not now, because we're on stream, but any of it? Alright, bet. Say less. Wait a second, there's members only? Hold on a second. Oh, I saw the video of the guy doing a podcast with, well, you know, that Vitaly shit with the Indian dude. I saw that one. I thought that was interesting. I see Mr. Beast here. Dude, for some reason I don't like that guy. Yeah, I'm gonna watch something else. Time to sell. Stock prediction for stock markets. Okay, it doesn't talk about crypto. Time to buy. Let's see. 2026 warning. Let's listen to that.
What was it like watching your company go public?
My lifelong childhood friend, he said
I just want to say I do
be
not
worth $100
own
million.
the rights to
We
this.
launched
So
Ancestry and got multiple millions
listening
of
to
users
this
a month
podcast
before LinkedIn,
goes to
Facebook,
the
or Google even
righteous
existed.
creator, and I
We had
do
to get
not
really
intend to
creative
make
with
any
marketing.
money from it.
Why is it important to
I'm just
understand your family
playing a
history
game
and
because I'm
genealogy?
bored.
Two things that
and
all human beings need to know is one, your family stories, because
I'm
that's
just
part of your
listening to it.
identity. But then individually, you
These
have God-given
bastards ain't
talents
saying anything.
that are unique to you.
So do you think it's easier today to start a business than it was back in 2000?
Way easier. 10 times, 100 times easier.
Especially with the rise of AI. What took us months and months to accomplish when we launched Ancestry.com.
The rise of AI and to create a business, dude, that's a huge fact. It's so much easier.
Could now be achieved by someone sitting in their bedroom in less than an hour.
What do you think is the biggest risk to AI?
The biggest risk,
Okay, it doesn't answer what the big risk to AI is. I'll tell you what the big risk for AI is. For it becoming sentinel. For it to be implemented literally in one of those chips that Elon Musk is trying to get us to. Hey, level 60. Okay, we completed it. Let's go. All right. Wow. Okay. Here, I'm going to keep listening to this. Let's see. I forgot what quest I was trying to do, but I
So
know I
Paul
have
Allen,
to do
co-founder of Microsoft,
something
net
else
worth
as well.
of
I
$20
completely forgot
billion.
though.
yeah, your most famous guest so far.
How often do you get confused with that other Paul Allen?
When he was alive, it was a fantastic cheat code for me. When I lived in Silicon Valley, everybody returned my calls, everyone returned my emails. It was awesome. When he passed away, then that doesn't lend to that confusion anymore. But for about 10 years, I was nicknamed in the venture capital community Paul Allen the Lesser. Because people would talk about me. I mean, I started Ancestry with my best friend, and so I was something a little bit in the entrepreneur world, but I wasn't the Paul Allen. So I actually blogged under the name Paul Allen the Lesser for about 15 years.
Did you ever meet Paul Allen?
I did not. I wanted to so badly. I read his autobiography, Paul Allen, Idea Man. I think his sister is named Jody or Judy, and I hope to meet her someday. But he's one of my heroes. He's an idea generator. And his whole life mission was to ask the question, what should exist? And then make it happen. Either build it or fund it. So I love his life story. I love what he created. So many cool things. And I regret that I never met him.
So you, Paul Allen, founded Ancestry.com back in the 90s. It then went public in 2009 at a valuation of $700 million. It then went private again back in 2012 and was bought by a private equity company for $1.6 billion. And then once again, it was bought by another private equity company back in 2020
60 mining
for
completed.
$4.7 billion.
55 wood
Do
cutting.
you wish you held on to the company for longer?
When the company was acquired in 2006, pre-IPO by a private equity fund, I heard about it from Dave Moon, the chairman. My first thing was to call him and say, I want to hold on to my shares till the IPO. But the answer was, you can't. The private equity fund is buying 100% of the shares. So I regret having raised venture capital on terms that I didn't understand that gave other people board control within the first few years of Ancestry.com. I was a first-time entrepreneur, raising venture capital for the first time, and I didn't know the small print at all.
So what was the mistake that you made?
Well, I made
Totally
many
messed that up.
mistakes along the way,
Hold on.
but the biggest one was this. Ancestry.com was cash flow positive with me and my co-founder owning 97% of it in 1998, July of 98, cash flow positive, multi-million-dollar ARR.
Yeah.
We owned 97%. We didn't have to raise venture capital because you're cash flow positive and you're growing like crazy. But we knew that we needed to raise tons of money to digitize all the world's genealogy records because it was kind of a race. There were other companies in the space. So, but I think the biggest mistake was this. When we couldn't raise venture capital for Ancestry.com, we went to Sand Hill Road. Nobody was interested. It was a topic, a hobby that no young VC money would be interested in. It's really an older person's hobby. The average genealogist was 52, 60% women. So the young 20 and 30-year-old VCs in Silicon Valley just did not get it at all. But when we were struggling to raise capital, I had a dream one night that we built an intranet for every family in the world to connect people to their living relatives. And what was born out of that dream was myfamily.com. So in December of 98, we launched myfamily.com. We raised $13 million because of myfamily.com. And then 33 million the next year and 30 million the next year. So we raised 75 million on the myfamily.com idea. But what those investors got was Ancestry and My Family. We changed the name of Ancestry to myfamily.com in early 2000. We were going to go public, and we had our Merrill Lynch, we had our S1. It was going to be $1 billion valuation with a 50% IPO pop to 1.5 billion. But looking back, we didn't know that the bubble would burst in the time that it did. When it did, it was disastrous for almost everybody. We survived it, but it was really hard. But the biggest mistake I made, I think, with my co-founder was, why did we raise venture capital for Ancestry.com? Why didn't we just raise venture capital for myfamily.com and keep a 97% ownership in a .com that was scaling? We didn't have to put them into one company. So I think that was the biggest mistake.
How much did you walk away with by doing those rounds of funding?
Well, I'm not going to disclose the final amount that I ended up with, but it was a lot lower than what we started out with. My lifelong childhood friend, Darren Thane, was the CTO of Ancestry. We went to elementary school together. And I remember sitting in a company meeting in 2000, and he said to me, "What's it like to be worth $100 million?" Because my equity was worth $100 million. And I said, I don't know. It hasn't sunk in. So we ended up with a lot less than that after the bubble burst, after the preferred were converted to common, our Series E came in. Our Series E funding round was at a 20 million valuation. The Series C funding round was at a $300 million valuation. So the dot-com bubble bursting, a lot of companies went out of business. I'm grateful that we didn't go out of business. We survived. We shut down our San Francisco headquarters. We moved back to Utah. We got cash flow positive with me as chief marketing officer before I left the company. So I feel very good about founding it, almost losing it, getting it into a great financial spot before leaving the company. And then sadly, I had to sell my shares in 2006.
What gave you faith that people would want to track their genealogy? Because back then, that was a pretty novel concept, right?
Well, if you'd been alive in the night, you guys are so young. You guys,
I would have been like 8 years old.
I
8 to 10
admire
years old.
both of you. You guys are doing incredible things. You're having a huge impact. But I just turned 60 the other day. But I grew up in the 70s. There was a television show for several nights in a row called Roots. And it was the most popular watched television show in U.S. history. Alex Haley had written a book called Roots, and then this turned into a series of episodes, 5, 6, 7 episodes. But it was a epic show about a family from Africa, multi-generational history. Kunta Kinte was this heroic figure in this story. But Alex Haley had 100 million people learning about the importance of family history, the importance of genealogy in the 70s. And there were already thousands of genealogy societies all around the world. So it wasn't something we stumbled into. It was an established thing that older people are driven. Alex Haley said that there's a deep hunger in each of us, marrow deep, to know our heritage and to find our family stories. So we just tapped into that. And as a religious person growing up in Utah, my genealogy had been tracked hundreds of years back by my pioneer ancestors.
You need
And
a
so
what kind
I
of level of
inherited
60? What?
thousands of family names. It's a pretty big deal in Judaism and in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that tracking genealogy is almost a theological necessity. So I kind of grew up in that, but I was never interested in it per se. When we built Ancestry, it was so cool to watch millions of people flock to the site. It was so early in the internet's history. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, we launched Ancestry and got multiple millions of users a month before LinkedIn, Facebook, or Google even existed. We had to get really creative and do guerrilla marketing tactics of all kinds. I remember hearing a few years ago that 41% of venture capital raised today goes to pay for Google ads, LinkedIn ads, and Facebook ads because you can buy audience. Well, what do you do in the mid to late 90s? before Google, before LinkedIn, before Facebook. We had to get really creative with marketing.
So, in the simplest way possible, why is it important to understand your family history and genealogy?
So there's an Emory psychology study from 2001 that proved that the number one predictor of resilience in children is how much they know about their family's stories. Because you're not a human being isolated or detached from other human beings. You have parents, you have grandparents, you have aunts and uncles and cousins, and you are part of that family. And so the stories of up and down, high and low, the stories of overcoming depression, the losing your farm in the depression and rebuilding, that becomes part of your personal identity. Families can say, we can get through hard things. We always have.
That's interesting.
So there's something powerful about stories that you internalize, and it builds resilience in children and gives them strength they wouldn't have otherwise.
So, you're saying that there's a sense of pride in knowing what your family has gone through that you can only get from understanding your family history and not get this sense of pride from other areas of their life.
Well, I think pride is one way to characterize it, but I think resilience is probably what the psychology study said.
Here we go.
My 5 years at Gallup in Washington, D.C., where I evangelized the Clifton Strengths Finder talent assessment, led me to believe that two things that all human beings need to know is, one, your family stories, because that's part of your identity and that'll help you get through hard times. And you can draw from stories and lessons learned from your parents and it's just really part of your identity. But then individually, you have God-given talents that are unique to you, that weren't necessarily inherited. You were born with talents, and Don Clifton studied talent more than any other psychologist in history. He came up with a taxonomy of 400 talents, and his little assessment will help you find your top 5 greatest individual strengths. So I used to give keynotes all around about your family stories bring you strength, and your personal talents are a roadmap to success in your own life.
So, what's the best way to be able to identify your personal strengths?
So Don Clifton's assessment is like $20, $25, and it takes about a half an hour to answer 177 questions. These were not
how much is this
lightly
guy
chosen.
worth?
Don Clifton, for over 50 years,
I'm very
studied
curious about
top performers
that to see
in
if
hundreds
he's
of
worth, like,
occupations, and he would
over $1
interview
billion.
them for 90 minutes to find out what made them tick. That's how he built the taxonomy. And then when he came up with these questions, they're kind of counterintuitive questions, and you only have 20 seconds to answer each question. And what it does is it reveals to you your naturally recurring patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. So you answer those 177 questions off the top of your head, and now he'll repeat back to you in language of strengths what your top patterns, recurring patterns that you could utilize to be successful. Here's your top 5. So I think the best way is to take that assessment
20.3 billion,
and then talk to a strength
That's his
coach to help
net
you
worth.
unpack. Well, what does that mean? How do I use that? What does that mean for my job? What does that mean for my relationships? So I'm a huge believer that everyone needs to take the assessment
Wait,
and
what?
then go through coaching
At the time
conversations
of his
so that
death?
you really deeply
So he
understand how
passed
you're
away?
wired and what your best path is to personal
Hold on.
success.
After seeing all this, what do you believe now between nature and nurture?
I actually don't know if I believe anything about nature and nurture. I think it's part nature, part nurture. I think it's part individual choice that kind of comes after the nature and nurture. Like, you can't personally rewire your brain, but your decisions stack up over time. And the scientists
That's
at
a
Gallup
fact.
might have a better answer than that. But they also say that if you have a traumatic, life-changing experience, you should take the assessment again. Because sometimes your patterns of thinking, feeling, behaving might change as a result of some major experience, a death, a trauma, or maybe a great success, or maybe a new relationship. So I've only taken it once, and I never want to take it again because I love my top 5 strengths that Don Clifton told me that I have.
What did it say your number 1 strength is?
Learner.
So what does that mean?
I just have to order books on Amazon every single day. Like, I have to learn something new or lots of things. Every college class I took, I wanted to major in that subject. So I'm a learning machine. All humans are learning machines, but some people love it enough to do it all the time. My second strength is called input. And it's kind of funny to think about a word input as being a strength or a talent. No one ever told me in high school or college, Paul, you've got great input. You should build a company to gather all the world's genealogy records and make them available to people. So input people gather and dispense. And every input person, everyone who has input, is gathering something. It could be recipes, it It could be collecting cars. It could be data or information or books. But the thing is, Dawn identified these incredible patterns and talents that most people don't even know are a talent. And most people go through life probably thinking they have almost no talent.
Are there any toxic traits that this is able to reveal?
This is a positive psychology assessment.
Okay.
It only highlights the 34 most positive traits that you have that can be productively applied. There are many other assessments that reveal the dark side of human nature. There is a character assessment called VIA, the Values Inventory Assessment, and it has cataloged 24 virtues that are identified in world religions and in world literature, and it reveals what percentile you are on each of those 24 virtues. And I got really high scores on certain things, and then I got 3% on one trait, and it really pissed me off.
What was that trait?
Teamwork.
So you're not good at teamwork.
Apparently, I'm a 3 percentile for teamwork. And it made me mad because I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Don Clifton's assessment tells me 5 good. Well, yes.
As a leader, you should be leading the way, not necessarily collaborating.
Oh, okay. You're saying
I disagree with that.
Really?
Yes.
If
I feel like
you have a good vision.
I feel like the essence of a good entrepreneur is someone who can build teams. Like, you need to be able to outsource. That's just the way that you grow. Is you can't be doing everything, and you need to find the right person for the right job and make sure there's a good culture and make sure your teams are being productive.
Oh, I think it's being 3 percentile in being a team player, I think it was team player, might have been teamwork, is not a good thing. But the assessment from VIA was created by Marty Seligman. He used to be the president of the American Psychological Association. Don Clifton started working with him on building the VIA character assessment. Then they parted ways, and Marty ended up building that. Don's assessment is kind of tracing your immutable traits that you have, and they're not something you learned. According to the VIA character assessment, I shouldn't react negatively if I got 3 percentile because I can choose to become a better team player. That's the VIA character assessment invites you to get 100 percentile in all 24 virtues. I just haven't started down that path yet. I'm not a big user of that assessment. I'm such a big believer in StrengthsFinder.
Now, really quick, I just want to say that we've been traveling a lot to bring you these guests here on the Iced Coffee Hour. And if you've traveled recently, you know what happens when you start packing your bags. Clothes get way bulkier than they should be, and it's a lot more stressful than it needs to be. That's why our sponsor, Extra's running a Christmas sale from December 8th through the 26th.
So this is a true organic. Okay.
Oh yeah, but there's even a better free version that will never cost you any money. It's subsidized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's called FamilySearch.org. They have about 20 billion records. It's free. It'll always be free. They have a very good mobile app. Go to FamilySearch.org. Type in the parents' names, the grandparents' name. It'll start suggesting hints, and within a few hours, you've got hundreds of names in your family tree with stories and photos submitted by your distant cousins that you didn't even know you had.
But how can you be so sure that it's accurate information?
You can't 100% know, but if you learn some genealogy skills like checking sources, there are people that in the 50s, everyone wanted to be famous related to royalty in England. So professional genealogists in the United States in the 50s would kind of fudge things and do research and say, you're related to this Windsor family.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone would pay them money because they were excited. So there is bogus genealogy out there. But most of the genealogy software platforms, including Ancestry and FamilySearch.org, have citations and sources that you can look up, like census records, birth, marriage, death records. And so you can validate it. It's unlikely that the first 100 or 200 years of your ancestors will be bogus because legitimate people are doing research all the time and connecting those puzzle pieces. On the personal talents and strengths, my father taught at university for like 45 years. And he started, before I discovered Don Clifton's work, he started telling his students, ask your family members, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, what your talents are and your strengths are. Just have people tell you what they think you're good at. Because most of us, when you're born with a talent, you've always had it, you think nothing of it, and you think everybody has it. That's just a common reaction. But if you have input, or if you're really good at organizing or delegating or something, people have to tell you that a few times before you start to believe it. I still think the StrengthsFinder assessment is worth it, but you can also ask everyone you admire or knows you well, what do you think I'm really good at? And how can you, what evidence do you have that I'm good at that? So you can learn from other people what your talents are.
So, Graham, what do you think I'm really good at?
Delegating.
Delegating?
Yeah.
Okay. And let me see. What do I think you're really good at? Oh, man.
So much.
That's actually
Where do
going to
you
be.
start?
Oh, man. Yeah. Let's see here. What do I think you're really good at? I think you have really, really, really good, sustained, deep focus.
Great.
And I'm
I was about to say
envious.
focus.
I'm envious of
Yeah.
that. He's able to sit down, and you know how like certain activities either energize someone or drain someone.
very
For
much.
example, for me, I am more of an extrovert, so I'm generally energized by being around people. Like it actually increases my battery, whereas Graham just immediately depletes as soon as he's
Yeah.
around more than like 2 other people.
Yep.
When he's working, it like fully gives him energy. Like we will be after a 12-hour day, 2 back-to-back podcasts in Florida. I'm exhausted off a horrible night of sleep. We'll be flying all the way back to Vegas, 6-hour flight, and Graham is like super tired. Then he gets into the plane and locks in and works because it
I love
gives
doing
him
that,
energy.
yeah.
I don't get it. I don't.
Do you
get
like
it.
Cal Newport's Deep Work book? Have you heard
I've
that?
never heard of that
Okay,
before.
so yeah, he's famous for his book Deep Work, but focus is one of the 34 strengths that Don Clifton has identified, and it's my 14th. So I've got 10 strengths that are always on, and then I've got 11, 12, 13, 14 that I think I can intentionally dial up. Like I can occasionally focus, but I have ideation number 3, and that's kind of the opposite of focus. That's like every new idea gets my attention and it gives me energy. So this is a really good conversation. And if I'm low at being a team player, maybe the best solution for me, and I'm doing this with all my 50 employees, is deeply understand their strengths and try to make sure the tasks they're given and the projects they're assigned play to their strengths. Because imagine if you give someone a task that's going to drain them for the next week or month, and it's natural that you don't always know what people love and what they don't love. But if you could delegate the right tasks to the right people and energize everybody, everybody wins.
That's really interesting because I feel like Graham and I are exactly the opposite.
Completely,
I think
yeah.
I'm much more of a team worker. I love building teams. I love being around people, doing things with people. And I'm much more of like an ideator. I love coming up with new ideas. Oh, let's do this shiny object syndrome. And Graham is like, work alone, work intensely. do the same thing.
But that's why you make great
Yeah.
partners. It's seriously, complementary strengths are so helpful. When everyone's the same, like that's not going to be very good, or you've got to have some balanced strengths on the team. So if you're opposite, that's a really good thing.
So what do you think about other popular tests like Myers-Briggs test or Jordan Peterson's understandmyself.com test? Have you ever taken any of these?
I love Jordan Peterson. I've listened to hundreds of hours of all of his books. I haven't taken his assessment, but I would trust
Jordan
it because I think that guy is
Peterson,
a
he's a-
genius. Myers-Briggs,
dude,
not so
dope
much. I had
professor,
one,
very
my
intelligent.
son's
He's
friend
able to
had a great experience with
articulate
Myers-Briggs. So I don't
things
want to fully
really
discount
well. One
Myers-Briggs.
thing I don't
He was struggling with his self-confidence and trying to
about
figure out what to do in life. He took
something I can't even
Myers-Briggs,
say
and it breaks
'cause
down the 16 types, and he found out he had the same personality type as Elon and Steve Jobs. That fact alone gave him courage to go into tech and to say, I could be really good at tech. He's now a coder for Microsoft. He has had a great tech career so far. But if an assessment can give you a boost of confidence that you can be something, that's a good thing. It's not as rigorous and it's not as scientifically validated. The test retest reliability is a lot lower. I like StrengthsFinder because I've seen it used by thousands of people with huge positive outcomes. But there are thousands of psychological tests, and I'm sure there's many good ones.
Yeah. After looking at lineage for decades, what's the biggest lie people tell themselves about identity?
Wow, that is a huge question. Okay, well, so I would say in answer to that question, less from studying heritage and lineage and more about being immersed in the world of strength psychology, positive psychology, coaching, leadership, all the things that I've learned the last 20 years. I think the biggest lie people tell themselves is that they don't have talent, that they're not a talented person. And that
Everyone
lie
has
starts when you're
talents.
very young,
Everybody.
when you've got athletic talent in high school, musical talent, you've got performance talent. And most people don't think of themselves as having that level of talent. If you're not a quarterback, if you're not a dancer or a singer, you don't think you have talent. Don Clifton's vocabulary of 34 talents with 400 total in his taxonomy expands the view so that nobody has to tell a lie to themselves that you don't have talent. You might have a talent called empathy or developer. And those are extremely powerful human building, connecting, and growing other people talents. And most people just never know they have talent. So I think that's the biggest lie that people tell themselves is they're not talented.
How much of that talent is genetic? Like, let's just say your parents are great singers. It seems like they have children who are great singers, or artists, or athletes, or they're these specific traits that their kids overwhelmingly seem to inherit.
I think the musical and the athletic talent probably is largely heritable. I do think you see that in lots of families that it passes down over time. And those are not the talents that Don Clifton was identifying. His were patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. I would say a percentage of your natural strengths are inherited, and then some percentage is nurtured, and then some percentage is developed through choice of how you spend your time. I would say the majority is nurture.
And what's the most shocking thing that you've discovered from looking at so much DNA and lineage?
I haven't seen very many crazy stories. When I've traveled the world and given a lot of keynotes over the past 10 years, inevitably I'll be talking about entrepreneurship or StrengthsFinder. And the audience members come up, lots of them line up to meet me. And many of them have tears in their eyes because they want to tell me their story, their family story, about meeting a sister they didn't know they had.
I got a story that I'll tell you, speaking of exactly that. I found out, well, I guess my mom found out, and then she told me, she had a half-brother. She had no idea about her entire life, and she found out in her late 60s. And apparently, my grandpa went off to war in the, I think it was late 1930s, early 1940s. He was stationed somewhere in England at the time, had a relationship, and then went back. Or something happened, he was pulled immediately and had to go back to the United States. Something happened. Turned out he had a child with the person that he was in a relationship with in England. He had no idea that she had a child. She thought that he had died in the war. And my mom did one of those tests, found that she was related to this person. And she showed me a picture of him. He looked exactly like my grandpa, like a spitting image. Like, holy shit, this is the same guy.
Did you ever meet him?
Yes.
That's
Ended
wild.
up meeting him.
Fantastic.
Great guy. Great
That's
guy, and
incredible.
they're close, and they email
Holy
and call all
shoot.
the time. But like, this never would have happened if not for that.
One of my very best friends has a brother who's never married. And as he got past 60, he kind of started feeling like life was meaningless. And he got an email from someone, and someone had done a DNA test and said, I think we might be related. Turns out he had a relationship in college 40 years earlier, didn't know that she got pregnant, had a child, and now he's really close with his biological son.
Oh, wait, what? Hold on.
And someone had done a DNA test and said, I think we might be related. Turns out he had a relationship in college 40 years earlier, didn't know that she got pregnant, had a child, and now he's really close with his biological son.
That's
It
wild.
gave him a new lease on life. Like,
Wow.
I
That
have
is
a son.
wild.
I've never been married. I didn't know I had a son.
Holy
They
moly.
have so many things in common, and they're very close, and it just brought new meaning to his life. I just thought that was an incredible story.
That's so cool.
Now,
Yeah.
I have now just rethought your
Yeah.
question about
Okay.
weird things. And so as I left Ancestry.com, I started an internet marketing agency called 10X Marketing. I wanted to help people 10X their revenue.
Yeah.
If you double your traffic, double your sales conversion rate, and double your average price per sale, that's 8 times. And so I thought we could 10X almost anybody's revenue. So one of my clients was a paternity DNA testing company in San Jose, and they were not insurance paid paternity DNA tests, but there are millions of people in inner cities around the United States that don't know who their father is. And so this was a first internet order the DNA test, take it, send it in, and find out who your father is. And I started doing marketing and
Whoa.
assistance for them, and then analyzing all their emails, the support emails and the
Yeah.
reactions. And there was a lot of tragedy in that. A lot of like people being shocked that they weren't the father of somebody
Holy
that
moly.
they thought they were the father of. Someone shocked that the person they thought was their father was not their father. And so a lot of family issues came to a head, and it wasn't a good thing.
How common was that you do a paternity test and
very
the
common.
kid's not yours?
Very common.
Very
Well,
common.
not necessarily with married families, but
Yeah.
if you think about, people hooking up in cities all the time and just like a kind of a unrestrained, however many sexual partners
Yeah.
you have, then if someone gets pregnant and has a child and keeps the child, there's a lot of people that could be the father. So I just think
That's freaking wild. That's wild.
in a lot of cities or a lot of locations, there's a majority of people who don't live with their father. And so knowing who your father is, can be a really powerful, good thing, or it can be a shocking thing that you didn't know.
I was always curious why they don't mandate genetic testing at birth at the hospital, right?
Who, the government mandate that? For what purpose? So that you would know who the parents were?
Right?
I mean, I guess that could be legislated somewhere, but I don't know. I think the large percentage of people probably know who the father is, and so that might be just
I guess
an expense burden on most people.
I'm also thinking how many kids get switched at birth, and you just
that's
have
an interesting-
no idea.
Well, they do have these tagging systems now. When my wife and I had started having kids in '88, and the hospital situation was a lot less locked down.
Yeah.
Today, oh my gosh, they have.
How do they prevent that?
Oh, they have all kinds of preventions. They have doors that lock and passwords to go in and see the child, and I don't know. They have a lot more cameras and a lot more security. But I think they have, code red or something. But I'm sure it's happened occasionally in history. But I don't think it's very common.
That would be a crazy
babies
story.
Get switched.
It's possible.
Technically, it's probably happened when you look at the odds.
I am willing to bet that it's happened many times, actually.
Yeah.
It's just truly just a random
Well, and then
circumstance.
there's the other thing. So adoptive parents or, step parents or whatever, I believe that their ability to love a child, even if it's not their biological child, is extraordinary. So I think the family ties that we develop, someone that's our mom or our dad, by birth or by nurture, I think those are profoundly powerful. So even if there is switching, or even if the paternity isn't clear, love inside of families is real, and parents will do anything for their children's happiness and welfare. And so I think I've known people who were adopted, and I think their loving ties are just as strong as natural.
Now, going back for a moment, I'm curious, what was it like watching your company go public?
Well, it was 2009.
Yeah.
I had been bought out in 2006, and the 20 people on the stand ringing the bell, only one of them was familiar to me. So it wasn't a pleasant experience. It was like, that should have happened with all of us early folks, ringing the bell. I have friends who run Angel Studios who just went public, I think a month or two ago, and it was just all the top employees there, key investors, and spouses of the founders. And they were all there ringing the bell. And I'm like, that's the proper celebration of an IPO. It's the people who built the company, not the late investors who bought the company and then took it public. So I was dissatisfied with that experience.
So explain this. You were forced to sell because you raised capital to other people and your shares got diluted to the point where they wanted to then sell the company, and you were just like, well, I don't really have a choice here.
Correct. It happens a lot.
So, but how did you not see that giving up that much equity to other people that you may not be super familiar with would want to take the company in a different direction?
I didn't understand preferred shares versus common shares. I'd never studied business before. I'd never taken a technology class. I was a Russian major in college. I was a humanities major, and I started a master's degree in library science. So I was all into academia and books and learning. But
explain preferred shares and common shares.
So when a venture capitalist writes a check for your company, they want preferred shares. And the founders usually get common shares. And so preferred shares have rights and privileges that common shares don't have. Such as if there's a liquidation and the company sells for $10 million, the venture capitalists, the preferred shareholders, get paid back first. And if there's any left over, it gets split among the common shareholders.
That's
so
interesting.
It's like a tranching. It's like
I think I'm
the
gonna
waterfall effect. If
I'm
there's any
gonna
left over,
bounce.
the
I'm
common
gonna head
shareholders
out, ladies
get
and
what's
gents.
left.
I'm
Now,
gonna
if there's
keep
a
listening
big
to
IPO
this
and it's
because
all
this is
successful,
really
then
interesting.
the preferred convert to common, and everybody's treated alike. So there are some scenarios where the upside is unfairly weighted towards the preferred, but many times they end up being the same class of stock at the end of the day.
So
Yeah,
successfully
man, I'm
scaling a
gonna
company
bounce. Yo,
before the dot-com bubble, during the
yo,
dot-com bubble, and then after the dot-com
give me a
bubble.
call real
Do you
quick.
see any similarities between that and right now with AI? Because a lot of people are speculating we could be in an AI bubble. It's easy to raise a lot of capital when you just have an AI somewhere in the name of your company. Do you see any similarities there?
All
So
right,
I
all right.
see possibly a huge bubble in terms of valuations.
good night,
but
ladies
in the
and
long
germs.
run, I think